call the meeting to order. Any items from the public?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your service. I could please have maybe one extra minute.
Stay.
May is quite an appreciation month, and I have a lot of compliments and appreciation to share.
Right.
Otherwise, I might miss a few people. My name is Stephanie Phillips, aka Schlepo. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you to our military members and families who serve and sacrifice in honor of Memorial Day. Thank you to our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. I personally also thanked and included our recreation department and offered to volunteer them some time. A gift bag, including a West Virginia state flag, was delivered to the school board, and a receipt was provided. A request was made at the state capitol. It might be en route. Receipt was provided to reallocate the funds to the scholarship program or re-gift the flag to the North End Martinsburg Mall, where we have politicians, Chamber of Commerce, our West Virginia National Guard located, to join the American flag there. A similar gift bag was delivered to WVU corporate office. I've requested additional security for them in their hospital. Washington County security at their colleges and hospitals is excellent. Strengthening families. I've requested help and have been gathering resources and information to help suggest a proactive prior to marriage class. St. Joseph's Catholic Church is assembling and mailing their resources. They have a class like this. They also endorse a weekend retreat called Retrovive for families considering divorce. Other non-religious educators and professionals could develop a comprehensive curriculum which might provide some college credit and or job skills for participants. And if divorce court standards are raised to Maryland and Virginia level, this could improve success of families and lessen our burdens on family court. I want to compliment the city and county, which I did in person on Earth Day. I couldn't find but 2 pieces of trash from 81 all the way over to the end of King Street. So I helped in my neighborhood and actually helped in Washington County in some of their government areas. And I would like to thank Tim and the Day Report staff and the military for the preparation work for future renovations for a downtown recovery support center, and requests and donations are coming in for volunteers and materials to continue their work. Your HUD program could use a state representative to assist the city and federal government for the homelessness situation, which I really don't see any homeless people. But in terms of upward mobility, I think a state assistant might help in case there's overflow and people might need to consider another close by county. And lastly, I would just like to suggest my parents introduced me to this community. They used to go on their family date night to have dinner at Peter Pan on the Frederick-Montgomery County line. And then they drove all the way over here to the Charlestown racetrack. That was their regular every other month date night from Kensington, Maryland. Now I saw these beautiful mountains and I did think this would be a nice place to live and raise a family very similar to our ancestral home down in North Carolina. So we do thank you all for your service and the consideration in these matters. And I'll give another progress report as we make further progress. Thank you.
Anyone else? Need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda for Thursday, the 5th of May, if there's no modifications or changes.
I have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Questions on the purchase order? All right. No internal budget revision, Mr. Davis?
No, sir.
We have a little bit of change in status here. We have a new high recommendation received from the Honorable Katie Delegati, prosecuting attorney for Elijah Stevens, as a summer intern with an hourly rate of $20 effective May 16th, 2022. We have a new hire recommendations received from Tim Zia, Director of Community Corrections, for the following. Gia Well as a peer recovery coach with an annual salary of $37,509 effective May 9th, 2022. Dawn Gonzalez as a part-time driver with an hourly rate of $15.50 effective May 12th, 2022. Per the assessor, a removal for Tiffany Sanders from payroll effective April the 25th, 2022. Any questions on change of status? We have minutes. Myself and Councilperson Delier was not present on April the 19th, 2022. Entertain any concerns, corrections, or a motion for those?
Mr. President, I move to accept the minutes of April 19th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. We also have in our packet, abstain. We also have in our packet on April 21st, 2022, Berkeley County Council meeting. Everyone was present. Any changes or corrections on those? The county council will have, the offices will be closed on Tuesday the 10th for the primary election. The building will be shut down then, and then we have our regular meeting on Thursday the 12th, 9:30 a.m. Boards and commissions. We have 2:30 p.m. LEPC, 5 p.m. Water District, 6 p.m. Farmland Protection. Again, closed on Tuesday. Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Development Authority, and 6 p.m. Roundhouse Authority. And then on the 12th, at 6:30 p.m. Fire Board. Any changes or corrections to those?
Does the voters registration office stay open that day?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So the building won't be closed, just
Yeah.
Offices will be closed.
Absolutely.
all of that.
We'll have some folks from facilities, some quite a few employees from IT working also. We've got we think a system in place to get the voting machines in place Monday evening, fired up Tuesday morning so that we're ready to go. New voting machines, so we'll have to kind of adjust on the fly on Monday and Tuesday, but I think we got a plan.
And
A lot of new, I had a lot of comments about different voting areas, precincts, that type of thing. I've heard for the last few weeks about all of that. Is there a map that somebody can go to that just shows all of those?
I think so. I'd have to double check, but I'm fairly certain there is.
yeah, I would think so too. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Good morning, Mr. Hess. You have a little bit of activity for us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, a little bit. We just have, for this week, we have 5 personal property exonerations. For the reasons that's listed there, and total them up, they come up to $918.42.
Entertain a motion for the personal property tax exoneration due to office error.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Hess. Board and meeting reports, Mr. Barnhart.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only meeting I had was Telemon, which was both active and virtual. I was there virtually. Mostly talking about difficulty in retaining personnel and that sort of thing. And the budget's fine and everything is looking good. It's a pleasant meeting.
All right,
The virtual one, I had no meetings.
Mr. Whitaker,
None here.
Mr. Gokenhour.
Yes, sir. Planning Commission, meeting on Monday night, had 4 public hearings. Of course, there's still a good bit of activity, with that department. Also, on Tuesday was a stormwater and sewer board meeting. The project in Jairstown is, like I reported the last time, is up and running. Pipe will be delivered shortly to that. They'll be doing the boring underneath the creek and the roadway very soon. Both of those agencies, the storm water and the sewer, are currently working on their budgets. So that's about what's going on with those two.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. And right now, I have no boards to report on. Board and commission vacancies, any activity there? All right. We have a new application from Sean Wolford for the Burton County 911 Advisory Board. You want to bring him in for interview, Eddie? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Since there is no other activity, all right, Will, let's go. Will Lawrenson, fiduciary supervisor, state accounts for the month of May. There's 95 or 98?
There are 94.
94. Okay.
Is that all?
I think that's the most that I've seen since I've been here.
We've been working on getting some of these back estates that have been open since 2010 and forward closed.
You've been working hard at it.
It's a full-time job to be sure. As I say, Council, today I propose the 94 estates to be settled for the month of May 2022. All estates presented here today are nearly identical to those found in your read-ahead and published in the Journal newspaper April 4th, 2022, in accordance with West Virginia law. To explain, my office was forced to withhold the estate of David Miller Bird due to an unreleased claim of debt against the estate, and that estate has not declared for insolvency. Furthermore, my office can ensure that to this council that all relevant parties hereto have either been adequately noticed of these estate settlements or have been reported as insolvent, reporting no distribution of probate assets to heirs or beneficiaries. Lastly, my office can report that no objection, written or otherwise, have been received by my office inhibiting any of these estates listed from settling today. Barring any present interested party's objection, I ask for 2 of the following. First, I'm asking that this council allow for a waiver of the individual estates readings for the month of May 2022, and I also ask for the council's approval of the 94 estate settlements for the month of May 2022.
All right. Anthony, do you have any reservations of not reading the names in public, or just?
No reservations at all. There's a requirement they must be read.
And they're all in a read ahead anyway. So.
They've all been published.
All right. Mr. Davis, you okay with it too?
Yes, sir.
All right, so entertain a motion to approve the 94 states for the month of May.
Mr. President, I move we approve the names as presented from the fiduciary office.
A motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Just want to make sure everybody read all the names, make sure they didn't have any.
Yes, sir, I did. See
Okay.
if my name was on there.
Sometimes I think mine should be on there. All
This
right.
keeps going on, I'll be on there pretty soon.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
You have no state hearings to do with
I do
schedule.
have one issue to present to council. As I've discussed with Mr. Davis and Ms. Shewell, I am asking for a possibility of 5 minutes for the May 12th meeting next Thursday to discuss the possible removal of a personal representative in Nakawa, Washington. As this council will recall, the estate of Elizabeth K. Washington had an estate hearing scheduled for April 28th. That estate hearing was postponed and assigned Susan Snowden as a fiduciary commissioner for that case. The council also ordered Mr. Washington increase his bond. He has yet to do that. And serving without sufficient bond is grounds for immediate removal from this. This body would vote on that, obviously, but Mr. Washington has reached out to my office yesterday, and I've confirmed that he is inquiring about increasing his bond, so I'm giving him a week to do that. However, if he doesn't do so by next week, we're going to have to remove him.
Okay. All right.
And we do have that tentatively scheduled.
Okay.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Will. All right. Alan, I'm going to go ahead and take, you want to do the budget revision number 11, Fund 001?
Yes, sir. Council has state budget revision 11 to the general fund. Just a couple things of note. As the council's aware, you declared a number of vehicles surplus several months ago, which we are now able to dispose of by auction. We tried, we looked at a number of sites. There's a site out there called GovDeals, which seems to be the most favorable to us and has the most activity. So we actually put one of the old Dodge Durango surplus vehicles out there just as a trial. No cost to us. All the costs associated with the auction is borne by the bidder and not the seller. We were able to sell that Dodge Durango surplus vehicle for what we netted out was $5,750. So it worked quite well. So you'll see that there is a check receipt from GovDeals in the amount of $5,750. We have a number of vehicles out there, including one of the both of the old Spider motorcycles were declared surplus. We have one Spider on there now, which is getting an incredible amount of attention. Here's one of the Dodge Charger that we have out there. So we have a number of vehicles. So we're going through the process of getting rid of these vehicles through GovDeals. Again, doesn't cost us anything. Once the check clears, they let us know. We sign the title over to the buyer, and they're responsible to come pick it up. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. When we put these, as you know, on auction, when we're doing auction on site, if we got $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 for some of these vehicles, we thought we did well. Well, it seems like we're going to do better here.
Right.
Are you going to continue to just do a few of them at a time?
We are.
And trickle them out?
Yep. That way we have some control. We can monitor it. For example, this Dodge is a 2012 Dodge Charger. There's four days and 12 hours remaining. The starting bid was $1,000. We've had 9 bids to date. The current high bid is $2,521.
Did they only do vehicles, or did they do other property too?
Nope, they'll do whatever we
There's
Okay.
fire trucks on
put
there.
out there.
Oh, there you go.
There's construction equipment on there. There's
I need-
agricultural equipment on there.
I don't need to look at
All
that.
kinds of stuff. It's a popular site.
It's a neat site. And again, it doesn't cost us anything except a little time. And our central garage cleans the vehicles up, gets them looking really good, and then attaches all kinds of photos to it. You can see just for this Dodge, there's got to be there's 30 photographs attached.
What's that site called?
It's called
GovDeals.
GovDeals. GovDeals.com. So we have that check. We also we've received 14 checks totaling $131,760 for the IT department. As the council's aware, we have become the drug tester of choice for the state of West Virginia. During the last month, we actually received 7 checks from the state of West Virginia for DHHR drug testing. The total of those checks were $148,723. So that's most of your activity. We did receive 3 checks from the state of West Virginia for records management grant reimbursement, $4,083 for county clerk, $7,716 for circuit clerk, which we're recommending we put back in their grant or in their supplies and materials, $20,000 back into supplies and materials for court security. That represents reimbursement from a JAG grant for, I think you've seen upgrades to some of the pistols that can be converted into for lack of a better term, a rifle. That's all covered by a JAG grant. $51,348 in the courthouse account. We split the reimbursement for IT services at Mr. Wine's request, $101,760 into information technology, $30,000 into central garage. Community corrections, we are putting $70,000 in supply. I'm recommending that we put $70,000 into supplies and materials because we're going through the urine sample cups a lot quicker than what we anticipated, so we need to replenish that supply. So total amount of this state budget revision is $342,830.
Okay, I need a motion to approve state budget revision number 11, Fund 001.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made, second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. And Mr. Davis, we have a bid to open up for ground maintenance.
Yes, sir. Your 10 o'clock bid opening is for ground maintenance at Pikeside Waterway and Sportsman's Paradise. Those are the only 2 that we contract out now. Everything else is done by community service. Speaking of community service, if you've had the opportunity, please, or if you have the opportunity, please go down to Morgan Park.
Have been.
It looks
They've done
different.
some nice landscaping, did some edging with some stones. The flowers are planted, the grass is cut, the bank accessible to the creek is very nice.
Brush has been cleaned down.
Cleaned
There
up.
was an old dead tree down there that we had removed.
There's still one laying
There
there,
is.
it's big,
Yep.
it needs some help.
We're gonna get all that cleaned up, but just in the short time that we've had that lease on that property, I think they've made some.
They have.
They worked hard there. It looks very nice. I've seen several fishermen there
Yeah.
in spots that they hadn't been for quite a while.
Yeah, there's
They
3
couldn't get to the
cars,
creek.
3 cars there when I went by yesterday.
So this is for all labor, equipment, materials to mow Pikeside Waterway, which is about 16 acres. And not in most, but not all of the parcels at Sportsman's Paradise. We've left as many of the parcels at Sportsman's Paradise as we can go back almost to its natural state. We do continue to maintain about 114 parcels totaling 32 acres down in Sportsman's. We typically average 20 to 30 mowings a year, more in the spring, as you can guess, than in the fall. Mr. Lang controls the frequency of the mowings. We typically have them try to set the mowers up as high as they can and don't mow until the grass reaches between 6 inches and 9 inches in height. It also, a Sportsman also includes the removal of some casual litter that blows down into the waterway, particularly in the spring. It involves some spring cleanup, which again, community service was able to help with this year. Removal of branches and brush in between mowings. Again, as I mentioned, mowing frequency is monitored and determined by Mr. Lang. For the past 3 years, we had a 1-year contract with renewal for 2 out years, which both of the contractors decided to exercise. Pikeside Waterway has been maintained by Tinsman's Landscaping at a cost of $350 per mowing. That has increased, just have had minor increases over the past 3 years. Mr. Tinsman did notify us early this spring that upon the expiration of his contract on June 30th, he would not be renewing it. He's picked up apparently a number of federal jobs that pays much better than we do. So he did give us notice that June 30th, he would no longer maintain Pikeside Waterway. Sportsman's Paradise has been maintained by C&D Property Management. They have maintained their per mowing cost for the past 3 years of $494 per mowing. That has not increased. And C&D Property Management did have Pikeside Waterway for a while also before Tinsman. As I mentioned, both contracts expire on June the 30th. Which would be the third year of the 3-year contract. We direct mailed the RFP to all of the contractors we had on file. We did place the legal ad on our website and social media platforms. It was advertised in the Martinsburg Journal on Thursday, April the 7th. We do have certification of publication on file in your packet. We had a mandatory pre-bid conference at 9:00 a.m. on Monday, April the 18th. We only had one contractor in attendance, and that was C&D Property Management. Bids were due no later than 4:00 p.m. on Wednesday, May the 4th, and we only received the one bid.
Okay. C&D Property Management in Martinsburg off of Butler's Chapel Road. Pikeside Waterway per mowing, as Mr. Davis said, 16 acres, $500. And bid number 2, Sportsman Paradise, 114 parcels totaling 32.40 acres, is $600. And price for herbicide applications, not
He is not licensed
right.
to apply for herbicide, but we can do that in-house. Mr. Lang is.
Okay. All right. That concludes our bid. All right. At this time, I guess we'll take a.
You have Tracy and
All right.
Tim here if you want.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Tim's on a busy schedule. He's going to blow you off. But I'm probably going to be here.
All right, next on our agenda is Tracy Gillens, Grant Administrator, DHS Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program.
That was easy for you to say.
Yeah.
The Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant, we are applying for $450,210.68, and we're applying to track raising societal awareness, civic engagement, threat assessment, and management team. There's no match to this. The grant funding will pay for one full-time threat management specialist, the salary and the fringe for the Department of Homeland Security, Berkeley County Department of Homeland Security, 4 specialized trainings, including travel for the school resource officers and the SWAT team. It will pay for a consulting firm to come in every month for 24 months, 8 days a month. They will provide 3 trainings, the county emergency plan, training for the threat assessment management task force, and training for the threat management specialist. And then the balance is paying for supplies, papers, and binders.
Does this seem like, is this fitting under your program, Tim?
No, this is
Right.
Department of Homeland Security. I have 2
Right.
MOUs
Okay, because that's what I was
under him.
thinking.
Sorry.
No, I was just trying to make sure. All right,
So this will be working, the grant will be administered through Homeland Security Emergency Management, but working through the sheriff's office. Is that
Yes,
correct?
they work together in that, and it's a preventative. The signs to look for. So after training, the school resource officers will go back and train school personnel to look for what signs to look for in the kids for any type of school shooting or violence or anything. And it's more for a preventative. And then the plan is the whole entire emergency violence preventative plan for the whole entire county, that they come in, that this consulting firm comes in and works with the sheriff's office, the Homeland Security, to develop and have this plan in place.
And we Tracy and I and Penny met, and as they were starting to develop this, thinking about where best to put that employee. And the more we talked, what they're going to develop with this threat assessment. We're currently working on the continuation of operations plan, and we do the assessment through Region 9 for the Eastern Panhandle on kind of the natural disasters that we have to be prepared for. This is kind of the third leg of that three-legged stool, where it's looking at not necessarily natural disasters that we could be faced with, but also, disasters, kind of man-made situations. So that's why we collectively thought it probably best fit under Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
so Randy would be the manager of this grant and the personnel.
Right. The person would actually be in the Emergency Operations Center.
And that's in the actual EOC then?
Yep.
It's a 2-year grant.
Yes.
When would it be awarded?
Well, the federal government says it would be awarded in September with a start date of October 1st, but they don't always say.
It's based on the federal fiscal year.
So is this something that the sheriff is also saying that he wants to cooperate since he's the one that's got the resource officers in the school?
Yes.
Okay.
And the schools are
Yeah.
on board.
Yes.
I would think that they would be.
But the superintendent is in favor and supportive of it and gave us a letter, so I'm sure that they can.
So I guess the training, I guess it would be all about the timing of the training and stuff for the resource officers and all that stuff. I guess what I'm getting at, if the resource officers have to be pulled out of the schools to do training, how's it?
It would be logistically coordinated for them, because some of the one of the school resource officers is on the SWAT team, and there's an out-of-state specialized training for best practices for bystanders. So that could be coordinated and all that, but they wouldn't be like pulled from their position. That would all be coordinated.
Anybody else have any questions for Tracy?
Is this grant also looking at gang awareness and threat possibilities?
Yes, it's an all-inclusive violence from gangs, extremist groups, individuals.
You have any questions, Mr. Davis?
No, Tracy and I have met about this, and I absolutely think it's, it's funny, we were talking, a couple of years ago, the trend was to remove school resource officers from the school and put mental health professionals in the schools. Now the trend is kind of just the opposite. Now more and more counties, rather than defunding law enforcement, more and more counties are now putting school resources officers back into the school. And fortunately, we never changed that. We've always left SROs in the school, and this just gives them some additional training for threat assessment, that professional training, and provides a consultative insight that we may not have had in the past.
All right. Entertain a motion on the DHS Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor, a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. MOU for Mountaineer Behavioral Health.
This is an MOU for the SAMHSA grant that is winding almost completely down. And this provides, we have to have this as one of the criteria that we partner with an outside agency who provides medication assisted therapy. And so this is an MOU that Mountaineer would provide the day report clients with access to medication assisted therapy, and would develop a collaborative and cross-agency model to discuss and co-manage mutual patients in order to improve the delivery of care for complex patients with substance use disorder.
We've done this one before, right? This one?
This is the first MOU that I've been involved with.
Tim, want to address that? This is really more for, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, this is backup
Yeah,
for the services that we provide now.
roughly a third of our participants are enrolled in MAT somewhere. There's probably 5 or 6 different providers in the area. This grant just requires us to have an MOU with at least one, just so that they can see if we have people that we need to refer to for MAT services and they don't know where to go. Mountaineer's there and willing to accept our referrals. We already do it now. It's
Right,
nothing,
that's what I'm saying.
there's no financial exchange or anything like that. It's just the grant requires it. So
Right, but we've had an MOU with Mountaineer for,
yes, but not like this.
okay.
Yep, that MOU is for them to provide,
Behavioral health.
yes,
services.
behavioral health counseling services at our agency. That doesn't exist any longer.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the MOU between the county council and the Mountaineer Behavioral Health.
So moved.
Give you the authorization to sign.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. And also MOU with East Ridge Health Systems.
This is the same thing. It's a requirement for this grant. And the goals of this partnership between the Day Report Center and East Ridge is to provide clients with access to psychiatric rehabilitation services and to develop a collaborative and cross-agency model to discuss and co-manage mutual patients in order to improve the delivery of care for complex patients with substance use disorder and psychiatric needs.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Tracy or Tim on this one? If not, entertain a motion.
So, and given the president the authority to sign the document.
All right. You have a motion on the floor, seconded. Any discussion? If not,
Has East Ridge been approved?
Yeah.
I know they haven't signed it yet.
Yes, Tim had contacted them and then I sent them the stuff for them to sign.
okay. If, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Tim. All right, thanks. At this time, we'll take a quick break. We're back in session. Next on our agenda is Pastor Nathaniel Wright, Berkeley County Ministerial Association Proclamation National Day of Prayer. Sorry, sir, about that. For some reason, I can't talk today. But you're here to read the proclamation for National Day of Prayer. And it's always great to have you with us, Reverend. So if you would go to the podium, and there should be a proclamation there, if you don't mind.
Oh, you want me to read this?
If you don't mind.
All right, no problem at all. Proclamation, National Day of Prayer. Whereas in 1952, the United States Congress passed a joint resolution signed by President Harry Truman, which established the annual National Day of Prayer. And the law was amended in 1988 and signed by President Ronald Reagan, specifically designating the first Thursday of May as the official National Day of Prayer. And President Bill Clinton supported this direction in his 1996 National Day of Prayer proclamation when he stated, "We face many of the same challenges as our forebears, ensuring the survival of freedom and sustaining faith in an often hostile world. And we continue to pray, as they did, for the blessings of a just and benevolent God to guide our nation's course. We should celebrate this day in the tradition of our founders who believed that God governs in the affairs of men and women, and who based their greatest hopes, dreams, and aspirations on the surety of divine protection. And the new millennium affords us the opportunity to continue to live in a nation under God with liberty and justice for all. Therefore, be it that the Berkeley County Commission proclaims Thursday, May the 5th, 2022 as the annual National Day of Prayer, and be it further the resolve that our individual and collective efforts reflect the dreams we dare to have of a nation where divine protection will ever be present. Awarded this 5th day of May, 2022, County Council of Berkeley County, West Virginia.
All right, thank you, Reverend. Entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation.
So moved, Mr. President, with honor.
I have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Reverend. We're good getting that signed, but we have to have it.
For the county. Did you
Yeah.
say that?
We'll have to have Ms. Mock to
That's good.
Thank you for everything you do and all the reverends.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Davis, let's go ahead and do the bid award recommendation for the demolition of 126 West King Street.
Okay. As the council is aware, last Thursday, bids were open for the removal of the asbestos-containing material at 126 West King Street, as well as the demolition and removal of the building debris as it's being torn down. We also asked for an optional bid for the removal of the pedestal teller machine and drive-through roof at 110 West King Street. We received 4 bids prior to the closing date and time. All 4 of the contractors did attend the mandatory pre-bid conference that had been held. We received bids from Pittsnogle LLC of Martinsburg. Total bid for both jobs was $165,146. United Records and Lands and Excavating of Martinsburg, total bid of $161,345. Adams Demolition out of Hagerstown, Maryland, a total bid of $95,000. And Reclaim Company LLC out of Fairmount, West Virginia, total bid of $90,880. All 4 bids were
And 2
reviewed.
cents.
Pardon me?
And 2
2
cents.
cents.
Oh, and 2 cents, I'm sorry. All bids were reviewed, all met the minimum qualifications of the RFP. As a result, and we did talk to the owner, Robert Williams III, who's the president and managing member of Reclaim Service. We confirmed his bid, made sure that it was a good bid. He absolutely stands behind it. Therefore, we'd like to recommend that the removal of the asbestos and the demolition of 126 West King Street and the removal of the drive-through roof and pedestal teller machine at 110 West King Street be awarded to Reclaim Company LLC in that submitted the lowest responsible bid of $90,880.02. If you looked at the credentialing of this company, we actually checked with one or two of the references that this is a good company.
Is there something in this building that's valuable that enables him to produce such a low bid?
Well, and if you look at
Other
his,
than windows or something like that?
really not, no. And this company's done some work in Martinsburg, so they're familiar with the area. But even the bid from Adams Demolition of $95,000 was still substantially lower than the two local bids. And the owners of Adams Demolition contacted us. How many times, Tracy? 4 or 5? They wanted this job in the worst way, so I don't know why it's so attractive, but we will be having all the electrical disconnected, electric meters taken off the building on June the 1st. Mr. Williams, when I talked to him last week, said that if awarded the contract, he would like to think that he could begin it in 30 days, but it's really dependent upon the state's approval. Apparently there's paperwork that has to be filed with the state with DEP.
Right.
And he said that they're running behind right now, so he said 45 to 60 days, hopefully less than that before they can start.
His portion for the site work is pretty low. That's whole building has a basement under it.
And I did talk to the third-party engineering firm that we use. They will come in and they'll do the compression testing, the compaction testing on the site for us once we're ready.
All right, entertain a motion for Mr. Davis's recommendation.
Yes, sir, I'll make a motion, we accept the bid and the recommendation of Mr. Davis to enter in contract with Reclaim Company LLC for the amount of $90,880.02.
Second. Have a motion on the floor, and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right.
You want to have some early discussion on capital projects?
Yeah, I was gonna go ahead and do that.
Tracy, you want to come up? I asked Tracy to come because, of course, she's our expert. She is our expert on CARES Act funding and has become our in-house expert on American Rescue Act funding. Just kind of as a side, Tracy and I and Penny did meet this week. On next week's agenda, we'll be coming before you with the guidelines and the application for request for American Rescue Act funding. And Tracy, as you know, we belong to the National Association of Counties. Have as long as I've been here, and she said they have been an incredible resource.
They're my favorite resource to go to.
Good.
So what we're bringing to you next week is kind of the template that we've massaged a little bit, as recommended by the National Association of Counties.
Okay.
In your packet, you'll see that there's a number of capital on land development projects that we've discussed over the past, year. 122 Waverly Court. Absolutely, the council you've given your blessings to the final plans. You approved that on April 21st. The RFP is on the street. Bids are due no later than June 1st, 2022 at 4 o'clock. We do have the mandatory pre-bid conference, which we'll send you the notice for. That's scheduled for 10 o'clock a.m. on Monday, May the 16th out at 122 Waverly Court. And you can see the funding, we anticipate that'll be about a $3 million project. The health department has contributed $750,000. Tracy and her staff have been able to get a community development block grant through the state of West Virginia in $608,802. Our remaining balance will be about $1,650,000, which absolutely positively is a qualified expense under the American Rescue Act. So we anticipate, we've already gotten one distribution from the feds under American Rescue Act. We anticipate using, unless the council feels otherwise, fund our portion of $1,650,000 through American Rescue Act funds. Next week,
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
We pretty much already said that, okay.
next week, we will be having our final meeting with Crabtree on the redeveloping and the refurbishing of the Dunn building. The plans have been approved by the council. If you'll recall, a month or so ago, Crabtree met with the council and the stakeholders in this building. The construction documents, it's my understanding the construction documents are done. They will be coming in, Kevin will be in here next week in the afternoon at 2 o'clock to finalize those documents, and we hope to have those on the street by the end of the month. The total estimated cost of the redevelopment of this building will be slightly more than $7.3 million. Again, that project falls under, is eligible for American Rescue Act funding.
All right.
So if the combination of those two, as well as some of the supplemental funding that you may want to provide, the nonprofits will probably take up about the first half of our distribution. So our total distribution is 23 million and change. We've got 11 million. We've got half of that so far. Should get the second half next month. So if the council is okay with that, that's how we intend to move ahead on those two projects.
All right. Everybody okay with that direction? Okay. Jim?
The
Dan?
other project that absolutely positively falls under American Rescue Act is the addition to the Day Report Center, 520 South Raleigh Street. We are in the very, very early stages of the design of that addition. We don't know what the cost of that will be, but wanted the council to know that that project absolutely is qualified under, without question, under the American Rescue Act funding. So 750 Baltimore Street, we did open bids for the roof replacement and the gutter and downspout insulation. I'm gonna hopefully just make a recommendation on that in the next week or so. Time is kind of the essence of that, only because we received notification this week that if we want to put any kind of metal roof on that, the price of metal roofing is going to go up 20. They anticipate the price of metal roofing to go up about 25% in the very, very near future.
I can get a 24-hour quote where I used to get a 30-day quote, so it's gone up.
Yeah. So we anticipate that's going to be about $1 million. We can fund that out of the general fund. If you
So
decide
you're
to.
saying that quote isn't going to be good, is what you're saying?
It's good. Black Rock Roofing, Blackstone Roofing. They gave us 4 different quotes. They're the ones that said that if we want them to stand by the quote, that we asked for a 30-day guarantee on their quotes, that if we don't pull the trigger pretty quick, we're probably looking at a 25% increase. We're gonna put that on that roof.
Did Mr. Davis include a facelift of the facade?
No.
It did not.
We're working on, we have the design of the interior space for the extension service done. We have a number of windows. There's storefront windows on that, some big windows. We had Berkeley Glass come in and give us quotes on replacement of the windows that are there. It's about $24,000, but we're thinking we don't need those bigger windows on there. If time allows, Council President Copenhagen and I are going to go down to 750 Baltimore Street today and take a look at that. Once we decide what we're going to do with the windows, then we can move forward with the interior construction of the offices for the extension service. We have it designed, the extension service has signed off on it, and then we can decide what we're going to do with the facade of that. But in answer to your question, Councilperson, we're going to completely redo the front facade of that building.
But the price does include the roof on that section.
Yeah,
And
the entire roof.
The only question, and it's a very good point that Eddie brings up, if we change the facade on that, usually what happens with a flat roof is that wraps all the way up to the top of the facade. So if you're using a rubber membrane, it would come up and be on the top. So that would be affected if that changes. Don't you think, Doug?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that fascia and all that stuff, how that's.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
You understand what I'm saying, don't you?
yeah,
So we probably ought to look at that and
Yeah.
see how that's gonna take place.
Well, I know the two of you have a meeting at 12:30, maybe when you're done. If you both have time, you could give me a call and Jack and I can meet you down there.
yeah. You like that?
Yeah.
The asbestos removal and building demolition, you awarded that will be funded. Actually, we have enough. I looked at cold severance. If the council has no objections, I'm just going to go on and encumber money in cold severance. We're going to pay for that out of cold severance this year. We've got more than enough to do that. The Burton County Heritage Museum, we've submitted tentative plans for that to the West Virginia Department of History and Culture. They will be here on Saturday, 2 weeks from this Saturday, the 21st, to go through that building, to do an assessment. So hopefully we'll know more on that. We talked about the addition to the Day Report Center. Replacement of the HVAC systems and upgrade to the lighting systems at 380 West South Street and 510 South Raleigh Street. We did lock in the labor prices for the maintenance, the maintenance contract on those units for 1 year. But after this year, those units have reached end of life, and chances are we're not going to be able to get maintenance contracts on those rooftop units. So some preliminary figures that Gary has obtained and will be coming back in the next week or next couple of weeks to talk about that. To do it the way we want to do it, it's going to be about an $8 million price tag. And by that time, we'll have return on investment calculated, things like that, similar to what we did with the Arctic chill unit out back, as well as the two boilers. There is a pretty steep return on investment. It's the initial cost that we have to get over. Something like that qualify. There you go. That's qualified under the grant. That's why I got you here, Tracy.
And mainly because of the HVAC.
Yes.
And then, of course, the elephant in the room
Would
is
they separate those two? The lighting and the HVAC, or would they want that broken out in two different?
Probably broken out.
I would think so. So they would cover the HVAC portion of it, the lighting, they probably would.
Probably not, no.
And I think if I remember right, the lion's share of the cost is the HVAC upgrades. But
A
we'll
lot
have
of
that
lights in
sorted
that,
out.
but, yeah, there's a lot of lights in those
Yeah.
buildings.
And then the council, we toured the judicial center 2-3 weeks ago. And as you know, within probably the next year or so, we're gonna come up against a real severe space issue over there. So we need to decide, council needs to give us direction on what you want to do with that building, if any.
That's gonna be, well, the only two options you have is to add on to the existing building, or you turn back around and use the Crawford building that's been in the planning stage since 2003.
And we had the designs done 5 years ago.
Right, so it's pretty much almost ready to go, the Crawford building, other than the defined details, but the layout of the building and stuff is already done.
Right, and we met with Judge Lawrence and last month, and he's okay with the design. Doesn't see any need to go back to the judiciary for
And then,
any plan changes.
right, so in today's world, I'm thinking that would be, I would budget 13 million for that. And that's just a shooting off the hip. I know they said something like 7 million or something, but that was a year and a half ago, probably. You know, I don't know where you are on the number, but I
Well,
think
there's a huge change from a year and a half ago.
there is. So,
With rates hedging up, even though our bond rating is still extremely good, will that have a negative effect on the money that will be required?
the bond rate will fluctuate with the interest rates and
The
stuff. So.
Fed's just bumped the interest rates up 0.5% this year, this week actually, which was a big bump.
Yeah, they're gonna raise them again.
Right.
That's one of those projects, though, if we're gonna do it, man, time is really important to get moving with that, because if we wait, it could cost us a bunch of money.
Well, you figure by the time, because we had the preliminary layout done, which is what, similar to what Kevin brought in a couple weeks ago on health department. Still gonna have all the construction things that have to be done. By the time we get through that process, probably what do you think, 3 years?
Okay. It's gonna take,
So,
you got,
but if we're going to do it, and particularly if we're going to float a bond, if you remember when we went to Moody's a couple of years ago on 520 South Raleigh Street, we were rated, it was rated at the beginning of COVID. We were right on the cusp of getting bumped up to the next highest Moody rating. The two things that kept us back was the uncertainty of COVID and what effect it would have on our finances. But the big deciding factor was the state of West Virginia. They were struggling then.
Well,
Now they're flush.
Right, they came
So
up
if
pretty
we're gonna
strong.
go to the bond market, now it's probably, we keep talking about that sweet spot that we've hit over the years. Now might be the year to go.
yeah, I mean,
Now might be the
1%.
time to do that.
1%, I mean, if the building goes in, and I thought it was gonna be closer to 10 million, I thought maybe just a little over 10 million, but if it was $10 million, that's 1%, it's $100,000 a year. Additional.
So,
And if you decide that's the direction which you want, we develop a, I mean, we put it on the street last time and let the local banks bid on it too. They come
Right.
to the bond market, we do that again, and we just have to determine how much we intend to borrow.
so I guess we've already decided to go forward and with the plans and stuff for the additional day report center, correct, Al?
Yes, sir, we're
We
working
have
on that
direction
now.
to move forward on that. I guess right now we need direction on moving forward with the Crawford building, to become the part of the judicial center for the magistrate corridor, I guess it would be.
Yeah, then it's gonna be the annex to the judicial center, and as you know, it will house the magistrate court and probably family court too.
Which will free up space for a additional circuit judge in probably a couple of years.
But I mean, what we're talking, were you talking with the 13 million, the renovations of the existing courthouse to make that happen as well, or are you just talking about the Crawford building? Because what I was thinking was just the Crawford building around 10 million.
Yeah, I'm thinking just the Crawford building. I know there's gonna be some remodeling. We're talking about more space for the prosecuting attorney from the first floor to maybe the third floor. Kind of tie those two together or something, or find a way to give. The other conversation was the whole first floor becomes the prosecutor, but then you have, Mike is talking about secured and unsecured, so we gotta make sure we're all on the same page there.
So would your thought process be to look to finance the whole 13 million, or finance 10 million and cover the additional out of,
Well, I can't answer that question right now because I want to see where we are once we get done with this conversation today. You know what I mean? But like you said, the ones that we've already talked about, the Dunn building and Waverly Court. Let's see.
Waverly Court, 750 Baltimore Street.
Right, so there's $10 million right there.
yeah.
And then we have the $8 million on the judicial center. We have the property we got to settle up with here before long. And the expansion of the bike and running trail to the ERJ to the roundhouse, which averages, starting from towers and going. That's just for the study, right? The 57?
We've already committed to the Frog Hollow Trail study, with, what is it? CEC, yeah. 57,000. CEC, I've had some discussion with them. They're also going to submit a proposal on
Inwood.
Steve King's very much interested in that project. So we've committed to the study for Frog Hollow. We've committed to the study for Sportsman's. They both will be funded out of the general fund. Of course, we have the expansion of Courthouse Farm, the cost of the development of Inwood Community Park, once you decide what you're going to do with that, and anything we may want to do with the new Morgan Park property, which I think Morgan Park property will be.
Those park projects, I mean, most of them, we've got that fund for quality of life that we can use for those.
That's got about $3 million in it now. And we'll be getting a payment shortly. I anticipate probably within the next month or so from Torch Energy.
Well, and then the only other one, we have the, to add to the list, we have Parks and Rec on the $126,000 for the trail to better the Poorhouse Farm for some trails. And then we have,
But you can pay for that out of quality of life if you so choose.
yeah, but we have the $350,000 for the north end of the park too, that they're gonna be asking for.
And as you're considering all of this, that's not listed in your charts, that's below is, the parking deck. If we're gonna borrow money, do we wanna borrow another couple million to do the parking deck? We also have the redevelopment of the old bank building, if you decide you wanna do anything with that. And then the redevelopment of 100 West King Street once we get the county clerk out. These are all things to kind of keep in the back of your
The
mind.
biggest thing with that building is gonna be the HVAC system.
Yeah, but if we can put a system in there like we did down at 802,
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, I don't know what else.
it won't be as free.
Yeah, I don't know what else you do in that building.
All right, so roof replacement, general fund.
Correct.
Asbestos removal of building is coal severance.
Correct.
The museum, we're gonna hope to get some help from the state, but not anywhere close to what we're saying it could cost. So that would come out of general fund, or we're just trying to add this all up. Or that would not would an arts museum, culture and arts museum qualify for anything?
Not under the American Rescue Plan,
Right.
but we have 3 grants out for different phases of the museum.
But how much are those 3 grants out for?
2.5 million?
Was that right, that much?
Yeah.
I think it did. All right,
And I provided this list to Tracy, the preliminary list, a month or so ago, so I know they've been looking at funding sources.
so 2.5, some from the state and some from the feds?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I'm just trying to do some math. Don't keep going. Addition to the Berkeley County Health Department would be coming out of the American Rescue. So
That'll come out of the first distribution that we already have in hand.
That's all. You saying Waverly Court will come out at 1.6 or whatever?
Yes, sir.
No.
If that's agreeable to the council. We can do Stephen Street, we can do the Dunn Building, 122 Waverly Court, and the nonprofits out of the first distribution.
122 Waverly Court, the Dunn Building, what else?
The conversation that we're gonna have next week about, we're proposing next week that you set aside $2 million out of American Rescue funds for those nonprofits that meet the criteria that we're proposing.
You had also mentioned 520 South Raleigh, the expansion.
That qualifies,
Gerald Hemon.
right? And that would be earmarked out of the second half of the distribution that we'll get in June. I mean, all those, Tracy, all those projects are unquestionably
Yes.
eligible.
Including the Crawford building as well.
I'd like to see this chart you've got, and I could scribble on it myself, but I'd like to see this chart you've got with the recommendation of the funding along the side of where it's coming from.
Absolutely can do that.
More categories, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, I know, but it'd be easier. It'd be okay if I had it printed out to be able to scribble on
But
it.
how about if I give this to you where it says estimated cost to financing, I'll put general fund, coal severance, and American Rescue Act funding. And then anything that's not, that definitely doesn't fall under those 3 areas would be something that would have to be considered. We'd have to consider bond financing.
But maybe even include the quality of life fund.
Yes.
On that.
Yeah,
Do that.
yeah,
Okay.
for the park.
What
Now-
about the additional property to Poorhouse Farm? I know you was researching that. Have you found anything that looks like it would be promising for the purchase of $800 and some thousand?
You can purchase land, an acquisition under American Rescue Plan. There's funding for trails and bike paths and things like that that's currently out.
So the $126,000 that they're wanting to expand Poorhouse Farm, that's eligible.
Yeah.
And the $350,000 that for the north end to finish that out, since they got $150,000 from the community, would be American Rescue money. Yeah, I want to add those two. And
Well, I have those at the bottom.
Well, I was thinking, and so that connection trail would qualify as well, right?
So you want north, Doug, I don't have North Berkeley. I call
Right.
it the North Berkeley Park, so I'll put that on here also.
you don't have Poorhouse Farm on there for the trails neither.
No, I just have the acquisition of the property.
Right. Yeah, the trails I think was $126,000 what they're asking for.
And I had thought that Poorhouse Farm, purchase of the additional property, would qualify for the land and water grant.
Tracy, we were told that 50% of that could be paid through land and water.
But so I mean, if we can get, all right, so if he was successful in land and water, 50%, and then we could use the American Rescue money for the other 50%. Would that be correct or not?
There's restrictions to using that as a federal match.
Okay.
And I would have to double check to make sure that that's one of the projects that you can use. They freed up some,
How long would it take for us to American or the water and
Land and water.
land and water stuff to get an answer back from them? Because I know they put a lot of money in that this year.
I'll say 72 hours.
Oh, 72 hours?
I mean, if you want an answer, if you can use the 50%, I can get that within a couple days.
I mean, because
I thought you wanted the SAMHSA grant. Though.
Are you attached to their bank account as a signature?
Just knowing all the right people.
I can get an answer if we can use that for matching funds. I thought land and water didn't open until late summer. I have that on my schedule as late summer. But there's certain things that need to be done in order for us to apply.
for the plans and stuff,
Yes, the plans and environmental study. Those have to be done prior to.
Can it be used as a reimbursement if we went ahead and purchased the property? Could be,
No. You can use the planning money. You can write that into the grant, so they allow you to use to be reimbursed for that for your plans if you get the grant. So if it costs you $300,000 to do the plans and the environmental study, you can write that in, and those are the only expenses that can be reimbursed.
so would it
So
not
is
be,
that a full environmental study?
Phase one.
Oh, okay.
Can we apply for multiple grants under that program?
You mean for multiple projects?
Yeah.
Um,
Can we do what I call the Inwood Park project?
oh yeah, you can do different parks. Yeah.
Then by that time, we'll have the design of Inwood done. And if we do the RFQ, we're doing the RFQ for park design for Inwood, we can piggyback on that RFQ and have the design of courthouse done too,
all
by whatever firm we select.
right,
I would think that would be a fairly, I've had a couple of those companies call and say they were going to bid, and both of them said that, with utilities and everything right there, they thought it was going to be a fairly easy one to put together.
So like the Inwood property does not have a stream, so it would still qualify because of what very little bit I know about that.
I'll double check.
And we've already had phase one done in Inwood. We did that as part of
Purchase.
our purchase.
All right, so I guess if we can add to the spreadsheet and so we can actually see each column's total and where we want to go.
Okay.
And I would like to check out for the land and water. I know we've talked about that quite a good bit, where that would be best suited to use.
I think that was what, didn't the Parks and Recs come to us with that discussion
A couple
early
years
on
ago.
when we talked about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And that was for that piece of property.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that back then their pool of money was very small.
It was.
With only been a small portion of that.
I thought they had said, and I could be wrong, I thought they said that 50% of it could be,
Come from them.
yeah, come from that grant.
I'd just like to think about that we're gonna make progress on trying to settle up.
And
The
what
purchase
I'll
of
do
land.
at the bottom of your revised spreadsheet, I'll show you how much American Rescue Act funding we have, how
Absolutely.
much we have in the Quality of Life Fund, which is currently stands at about $3 million. So,
Just put them at the top of the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Okay.
For each column.
yep. So,
And we just start subtracting from there.
and I really, the project that, it sounds like we've got most of these under, I think we have a basic understanding where we want to go with all these except for the Crawford building. That's the one that we're going to move forward. I got to get with Crabtree, and we're going to have to start getting some construction drawings together. So we
I think
can
I would think you need to do that.
Yeah, I think the
do that
direction,
anyway.
yeah, I think time is gonna be less this year before long.
So consensus of the council is to get construction drawing
Yeah.
prepared.
And they said they were pretty close.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we'll enhance the spreadsheet so that we can make a decision on all these projects, but you need any other directions?
No, sir. I just needed some discussion.
I think we get the square footage of the addition that's proposed for the day report center, and then we can use the price per square foot, and just try to see where we end up there.
Okay.
Then we can use the estimated price per square foot.
Now, next week's agenda, Penny, we have next week's agenda really full going. So come back in 2 weeks. Is that okay with council?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm planning to be out next week at 12.
Well, we'll be back with this.
That means we gotta stop. You're not
With this
gonna
on
be
the
there.
19th.
All right,
Yeah, the world doesn't stop for me.
Okay.
all right, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Trace. Well, we'll do it on, we'll do this.
Hey,
We'll do this on the 19th. We'll look at that agenda.
what time do you want me to change our meeting?
It won't take long.
I had said 12:15 already.
Executive session.
No, you have anything that
I
just
know,
mine?
just what you want to.
I'd say 15 minutes for that, 45 minutes.
We still good 12:15.
12:30. We might, 12:30. Okay. All right, next on our agenda is Andrew Henderson, candidate for criminal justice. Andre, I'm sorry, Andre. You're here to be a candidate for the criminal justice board. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve, please.
Yes, sir. Well, my name is Andre Henderson. I'm currently an attorney with the Public Defender Office here in Berkeley County. I'm an assistant public defender, and been employed there since 2016. And the felony case is involving run against the person, against property, and subdivision initiative type offences. During my work there, I've come to make the acquaintance and work professionally with people involved in alternative sentencing here in the county, including Tim Zaya over at the New Report Center, a gentleman over at confinement. I believe Mr. Vaselli has moved to another position, but Mr. Webb and some of the other gentlemen over at home confinement, Joe Elliott over at Community Alternatives to Violence, and even Marshall Hawkins here at Community Service has always done a great job of what she does. So, background in criminal justice, I'm an attorney, again, I'm barred in West Virginia, Maryland, District of Columbia, and I'm interested in volunteering for the position in order to learn more other than just what we see in court and law books about what the county faces in terms of sentencing and criminal justice issues.
So how you think Mr. Zah is doing in the alternative sentencing and stuff? How you look at that?
Well, from the criminal defense standpoint, I think it seems to be doing a very good job. I've had several clients go through the day report center on an outpatient-based basis, and it's helped keep some folks on the straight and narrow. And I think as well, from the flip side, is I would say the county supplying channel folks with programs and resources that involve being incarcerated at the regional jail. So from the defense side, I think he's doing a good job. It's always pleasant and professional to deal with.
Thank you. Mr. Barnhart?
Your accent says you're not from around here.
No, sir.
Where are you from?
From England originally, but I've lived in the States a long time. I've been I moved to Lawrenceburg in 2012.
And how do you feel about the area? I mean, as a world traveler.
I really like Burton County.
Do you?
It's a real nice place, a beautiful country. The people are very friendly, and I think Lawrenceburg's a real great place. Architecture is really nice. Actually, living downtown, about a block from the train station, and it's great being shops and bars and restaurants right there.
So you think that ties in well with the position that you're seeking? Public, the
Criminal justice.
criminal justice.
Well, I think on some level, living in downtown, I certainly see my clients occasionally on the street to see how they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and I think that it gives me a first-hand look at criminal justice issues.
Mr. Delegate?
So what brought you to Berkeley County?
Well, I was living in Washington, D.C. for some time, and I basically began looking for my own place. Washington, D.C. is also a great place, but has many of the issues I associate with the big city, not to mention terrible commute and things like that. So, actually, I was working at the time in Maryland, and my boss, very coincidentally, happened to take a day trip out to Lawrenceburg for the weekend. He came back to work, and he said, well, you should take a look at this town. It's really nice place. So just through that, in some ways, probably through that coincidence, I ended up coming to take a look at Lawrenceburg, and really liked the place. So it did help that Lawrenceburg has access to the train line. The place I was working at the time was Gaithersburg, Maryland, so about halfway down the train to DC. And so for the first 4 years, I took the train to work. After joining the public defender office, now I can walk it. That's even better.
So it's good to hear that the train was a benefit, because I went to the argument a few years ago about trying to save the train when they were talking about not funding it here, and it's still an ongoing conversation about the value of the train, but obviously it clearly has some value to you, so I appreciate the story of it. I also appreciate that your willingness to serve on the Criminal Justice Board. The Criminal Justice Board is a vital tool to keep our day report center going, the recovery resource and the home confinement. So that's a vital tool at sometimes I sat on that board for several years, helped form that board, and that at some points it seems like, there's not a lot that board needs to do on a regular basis, but it's a very, very vital board to be able to have those members to continue to move forward with the project. So I appreciate your willingness to serve on that.
Is there a current vacancy on the board?
That would have to talk to him. We had somebody, I remember somebody resigned.
Yeah, no, I have not, I haven't noticed anything.
And
Didn't somebody just resign off that board?
if you remember the subcommittee, it's established by the Subcommittee on Community Corrections, they provide you with some criteria on seats that should be filled, and actually the public defender's office is one of the required seats. So,
Right, didn't somebody just resign off of that? Homer, didn't Homer just leave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, he did.
All right, Mr. Worthing.
My comment is always, thank you for wanting to give back to the community, and this is a very vital board, I think, for the county for the alternative sentencing. And I'm sure the experience that you've seen on both sides, you will bring great knowledge. So I just want to thank you for wanting to serve and give back to your community. And thank you for choosing Berkeley County.
Well, it's good to be here. I appreciate you joining with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Gokenhour.
Yes, sir. I had previously served on that board, and I know how important it is to have different aspects of our community on that board, through the public defender's office, through alternative sentencing. Everybody has a seat there, and it looks as if your education and background, you could provide a tremendous amount of input to this board. The only thing that I ask is that, would you by any chance see any type of conflict with anybody that you'd be representing going through the programs? That was really would be my only concern, and other than that, I'm very pleased that you have applied, because I think you would be a great addition.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the words. And that is a good question. It's a conflict of interest. I understand that if I was selected for the committee, I suppose it would be in sort of an advisory capacity. And I suppose I would just refer to the fact that there's currently at least one public defender involved. I respect it as one of my colleagues, who I have a lot of respect for. So I suppose my answer would just be, if there hasn't previously been found that is involvement, I can't really think of anything, I suppose, with clients or any kind of roles that I would play that doesn't already. So if it's not a conflict for him, I can't think of any specific cases that make it a conflict.
Very good, thank you.
And with it, that being one of the mandatory positions, I can't, it's kind of the makeup of the CDB as well. It's
it's
kind of
really
like,
no different than having someone from the prosecuting attorney's office there,
right,
because they would refer probably more clients there.
right.
Even the public defender's office, I can't imagine that there would be to that. I think that's good.
And like Andre said, it's more of an ambassador, like you're in general.
Yeah,
Huh?
3.
Yeah, yeah. So you understand, and you've been part of the interaction with the Day Report Center and Recovery Resource Center and Home Confinement. Is there anything there that you'd like to see changed or improved upon from being on where you are today? Is there something that you think needs to be done to make it even better than what it is?
Let me see. So, the process starts with a person usually accepting a plea and improvement case, and maybe one of probation or the resolution boards, referral to day reports. Sometimes it's done as a position of bond early in the case before resolution is achieved. I've got to say, they're generally very efficient, and once the client go over the day report. I'm confined within 24 hours. Can't say I've ever had a client express any kind of reservations about timeframes or anything like that. I think, as far as I know, that nobody did. Conducts himself very professionally, is punctual, is responsive to clients' needs from our standpoint, and I think possibly, and again, it's just a comment about something that it's impressive they report in office in the first place. But I do know clients who tend to live in outside the city, in perhaps out in the country a little bit. They report does provide transportation to and from door to door, which is impressive. Ways to be in that in the first place. I think once or twice I've had clients say that they didn't get picked up for certain appointments, that it happened very infrequently. But again, the fact that they report even sends out minivans and shuttles out to the country to take people to their counseling is impressive. It's not a one small thing, but that's for the most part, it's a very impressive operation.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that you have a lot of knowledge on how it works and why it's there. So thank you for applying. And like some of my council members up here, I want to thank you for deciding on Berkeley County, and you're a prime example of the quality of people that the train attracts to live to Berkeley County. Wouldn't been, as Dan said, wouldn't been for the train, you wouldn't be here. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks for the kind words and thanks for your consideration today.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Next on our agenda, the board and commission interview a Hunter O'Neill, candidate for CBB, Library, Parks and Rec, or Home Consortium. Hunter, just tell us a little bit about yourself and why do you want to get involved in boards?
Okay, so my name's Hunter O'Neill. I'm originally from Cumberland, Maryland. When I was a young kid, we moved into this area, so I've lived here pretty much since I was 6. I did temporarily live in Hagerstown right after graduating from Shepherd. Finally convinced my wife to move back into the area, so I'm back in this area. We just recently had our first kid, and I like to live by example. I think the hard work ethic and being involved in the community is very important. So in addition to volunteering at the bank that I work at, I wanted to get more involved and just kind of see what was out there and what I could potentially do.
Okay, and out of these boards that you put down, which one are you most passionate about or knowledgeable about to really add something to them?
I would probably say I have a strong interest in the Home Consortium, just because of the fact that they, provide funding for Habitat for Humanity, and they have that homeowners assistance program as well.
Okay.
I think it's something that's important for. You could use me as an example. Not that that's something that I don't think I would have qualified for at the time, but I lived with my parents throughout college, and moving out, we moved to Hagerstown just because my wife had some family there, and we found an apartment that was cheap. Having someone who's living in an apartment, providing them that assistance so that they can continue to live in the community, whereas moving somewhere else like Hagerstown or Winchester, I think something like that is important.
Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Barnhart.
Well, thank you. The Home Consortium is a tri-county effort. Working 3 county commissions and all the municipalities of the area. So it's a pretty wide-ranging organization. But the other ones, library, rec board, visitor center, just throwing your net wide.
So that's part of the thing too. Is I don't have much experience, and I haven't really gotten too involved in the community. So this is kind of like my first attempt to see what's out there, what's available. The library, parks and rec, like I said, my son, that's something that he'll probably be a part of as he's growing up. So to be able to serve on that board would be pretty cool. It would be a nice opportunity just to kind of, be able to help in that aspect, considering that's something that I'm probably going to be participating in as he gets older.
Banking is what you do?
Yes.
Banking what you continue what you'll continue to do? I mean, that's where you're.
Yeah, I would say
Lifetime
like
savings?
five-year plan. Eventually, I'd like to get into mortgage lending, but I still plan to continue to do that in banking and with the bank that I currently work with as well.
Mr. Delia.
Thanks for your interest in getting involved. I think it's a great idea to look at some of these boards that are going to affect your family moving forward, and that's definitely a trait of somebody that wants to stay in the community and be involved. So I appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker.
I do appreciate your interest, like Mr. Delier said, and I was just kind of reading through your resume here. You've been pretty busy here for a short amount of time. So it says down here you like to eager and fast learner, and believe me, when you get on a board, you learn pretty fast.
They kind of throw you right in the.
Yeah, throw you right in. You get a drink from a fire hose every once in a while. So, but thank you for wanting to give back to your community. It is important to take part in it, as with a family that you started, and taking that interest in your family for the whole community. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Gokenhour.
Yes, sir. I also thank you as a young person. A lot of times we don't see young folks come forward and want to give of their time because they're busy with their families and whatnot. So you just work caution, find that balance. Okay.
It's
But,
definitely been quite the ride so far.
yeah, hold on, because you're just getting going. All the boards that you've applied for, they're very important to this community, and I know that number one, your desire to serve is critically important, and I think that there's probably a good fit for you in there somewhere, even though you've listed a large number of them. But most of all, just thanks for applying, and I think there'll be a seat for you there somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what Eddie said. Thank you for applying. One of the things we say is that everything that got us here isn't going to keep us here. We got to start thinking younger, and the way we do that is recruit young people to help us. And so I appreciate you applying. Right now, currently, each board that you have applied for, I don't see any openings, which doesn't mean that there's not going to be any openings in the very near future.
You're gonna have opening in the library.
Is it? I didn't see
Gary's
that.
not gonna read it.
Well, I know, right. But right now it's full. Okay, that's what I thought. Tell us one of the things that you would consider if you was a member of the CBB. You're young. And that's basically allotted a large amount of money to, which is 50% of a hotel motel tax. What would you do there to attract people to come to Berkeley County?
I think we just need more social media presence as a younger person. It's kind of hard, like downtown Martinsburg Facebook page. That's pretty much like one of the first places that I go to hear about stuff. I think there needs to be wider platforms, more pages, more stuff like that, so that the younger people in the area have more exposure to what it is that we're doing in the community. And as those pages grow, who sees them on those social platforms in the area will grow outside of the area as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you. And really do appreciate you wanting to apply and get involved. So we'll get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I guess the only other thing we have is executive session right now. Any items from the public? All right, we need to go to
executive session.
for economic development reasons.
And there will be no action.
We're in executive session.
That's kind of executive session,
No action.
Yeah.
All right. We're out of the executive session. No action will be taken. Mr. Barnhart, if you do the honors,
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I move to recess.
we are recessed.
See you.